Welcome to the 145 Rural Podcast, where we are here to strengthen music careers and communities one song at a time. And now, here's your host, Jacob Wing. Yay!
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode. Great to have you with us. So happy to have you here. Today, we're talking about a very important and relevant topic that a lot of people can relate to, at least in part of their life or part of their career. This is relevant. I know for myself and other people I've known, we usually start out working a full-time job and then move on from there into a full-time position of what we choose to do. So today's episode is obviously about how to maintain and have a career while having a full-time job or a part-time job. So let's just break it down real quick how the episode's going to go. We're going to start out with the very first part is we're going to talk about some of the advantages to having a full-time job and having that steady paycheck as you're working your job. And then we're going to go down to the next part where it's going to just talk about what we need to prioritize in order to make this work and be a success at balancing those two in music and work life to get the most out of it. And of course, we're going to end it with a third part about the 5 steps of moving on comfortably to a full-time job and how you can accomplish that. So a little bit of something for everybody. But let's go into that very first part of the advantages of having a full-time job. And there are quite a few. So if you are somebody that is currently employed and feel like you're hurting your music career or you just can't move away from that, I want you to take some comfort in knowing that that's a great thing and you have something to work with here that can really push you out in front of a lot of people and can really set you up for success moving forward. The first thing we want to talk about is something that we already kind of touched upon here is just having that reliable income and being able to plan because you know you have that. So in the music world, when you move full-time to either being a full-time musician or a full-time audio engineer or anything like that in the music world where you go from having a steady job and a steady paycheck into a creative world such as this, the first thing you're going to notice is that there is not a steady stream of income. You don't know where that next paycheck's going to come from. It's really hard to make any concrete plans like vacations or anything like that when you don't know where money's going to be coming from. And it's really hard to game plan how you're going to grow your career, where to invest money or how you're going to invest money when you don't know if there's more money coming in. So in the position you're in now, you have a huge advantage where you know there's more money coming behind you and it's going to be there, and you can prioritize how to invest into your music, into your career moving forward. So huge win there if you do have a job going right now. Another part that maybe you aren't thinking about in this situation is that when you have a full-time job and that's a huge part of your life, either you're providing for yourself or a family or a partner or anything like that, you're going to make that part of your story. And you really can't fool yourself that you're a storyteller. I don't care what you want to do in music, you are a storyteller. And if it comes down to just telling your bio, telling your story, your backstory of why you chose to go into music, when people want to hear that, when it comes to writing articles, blogs, just telling people in a crowd why they should be listening to you and why you made this choice, that job that you're working right now, that life you're living to provide for those people, provide for yourself and be a reliable person to get that kind of income stream, that becomes part of your backstory and who you are and what it took to get where you are at that point. And that's a great thing. You need to be able to tell a story. So you've already got part of that story built in because of what you're doing at this moment. That's a huge win. Next thing to think about, of course, is that usually if you have a job, you're not normally self-employed. If you are, congrats to you, and I feel your pain. And if you're not, and you have a employer, you're usually working with other employees. You usually have a boss. You might have people underneath you. There's usually a network already built in that you can utilize as you start to branch out and build a fan base. And the thing that's not talked about enough, it takes a lot to get that momentum going, to push that boulder up that hill. The first time, it really feels like you're not getting anywhere. And if you already have a built-in network of people around you that already know who you are, know your work ethic, know the best parts about you and the worst parts about you, it's easy just to say, hey, I'm taking on this. I'm going to start building my music career. Would you maybe follow me on Instagram? Would you maybe take a listen to this on Spotify? Take a listen to my music and tell me what you think. and just grow a fan base. And especially people that get that early into your music become the lifelong fans, become the hardcore fans, become the people that actually pay the bills. So you already have that built-in network because you already have people around you. So huge win there. The next one we want to talk about is when you work a day job like that, you are usually working for somebody who has a business, or you are around people that are trying to run a business, clearly, and you can start picking up skills in your daily job and your daily work and your daily routine that are going to apply to what you do in your music career. I mean, you cannot fool yourself. Music is a job. Full stop. It is a job. And if you don't think of it like that, if you don't start thinking about, profit and loss, how I'm going to make this work, where's the next money going to come in from? Am I going to go, into debt to make this work, which, you never want to do that. But you can pick up the skills as you're working around people, seeing what works for their business. How do they attract customers? How do they keep customers? What's working for them? How are they reaching out? What advertisement are they doing? There's not always a direct correlation, but you can always pull pieces out here and there and apply that. And even just whatever your daily routines are, you can apply those to your music career. If you're doing just mundane, repetitive tasks, you can see how to make those better, make them more efficient, how to build systems into that to make it go faster and get more done. Can you delegate some of these to other people? Can you bring in other people to help you? Those kind of things are the things that you can pick up and grow those skills and utilize those to bring in other people and use that in your music career moving forward. The last one I want to touch upon, and this is a really, really big win for anybody that already has a job and they're studying life and it's working for you right now. You've got a good balance going. You're able to support the people around you or yourself. And the big win here is that you know where your income bar is now. You've been doing this long enough and you've been doing enough of it. You know how much money you need to succeed, how much money you need to survive. You know most of the pitfalls, the things that are going to be unforeseen that could happen to you for the most part that you can plan for. But knowing a number that you need to survive, a bare minimum number, gives you such a huge win when you start moving into either expanding your music career and, dropping down in whatever your full-time position is, or actually just going full-time music. You know the numbers that you need to hit. And we'll move into that at the end here in the 5 steps of moving on comfortably. But that's a huge, huge win. But the next part we want to talk about is, of course, the advantages. So not the advantages, but the parts to prioritize. And this part here is really mostly about the things that you need to focus on more so than any other person that might be doing a full-time career in music already. They have different priorities. They have different things they need to focus on. But with a full-time job, your main focuses, your main priorities need to be in certain places to make this whole thing work. So the first thing to think about when you are talking about what do I need to prioritize as a part-time musician that wants to move further in this career, and what can I do to make this work? And the very first thing that you need to focus more on than anybody else in this situation trying to make a music career is that you need to focus on the priorities in your life. What's making this system work now that you don't want to break down later when you start shifting your focus? So if family is something that you're supporting and making this work right now, you need to write down or have somewhere that is your number one priority. Family should always come first, no matter who you are or what you're doing. Their success, what's making them happy, what works for them. Yes, they'll make sacrifices for you. Yes, you can make changes, but you have to make sure that you have an open communication line with whoever that's involved with this and make sure that you know that they're the priority. I mean, it's the only way to maintain that balance. Otherwise, that's going to break down and you won't have a support system. You won't have a mental backup to have people there for you that you're going to need. And it's just going to add stressors that you don't need going forward. So a priority list of what's most important to you needs to be somewhere written down, and you need to have a discussion with those, that there's people involved if there's business or work involved, you need to let them know what the priority is, where they stand on that list, and that you don't want those things to change moving forward.
Hi there, and welcome to the ad break. We're just going to take a moment to let everybody know about our community of growing members, and if you'd like to be a part of that, just look at the info below and there will be a click there for an email sign up to join in and get your voice heard. As well, if you're enjoying this content, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/145rural. There you can join any of our groups, and you can add to the discussion of what topics we will choose that will help you and hopefully future members of our groups, as well as join monthly Q&As and other such benefits. Again, that's patreon.com/145rural, and we look forward to seeing you there. Now, back to that regularly scheduled episode, and enjoy that content. Thanks again.
Something else that you really need to focus on, the number 2 thing we want to talk about here, is you need to be more efficient than somebody who's just working a full-time career as a musician or an artist or a band or anything like that. You have to really focus on your efficiency. And the idea behind that is that you have to have intent behind everything you do, because you only have so many hours in your day to accomplish things. Somebody who has just been able to take the time off to focus full-time on their career in music can spend time on developing art, developing the things that you never think about, putting time into putting a band together or a backing group, time to in developing their songs further, and all those little things that kind of start to break them out and pull them apart from the people around them and grow their music career. You have much less time to invest into that. So you have to be really intentional with that. And a good example of this, and I myself have found a great use for this. If you're working, you're usually doing some kind of commute. You're going to and from someplace, twice a day. And that's time that you can utilize very well. And I've found that listening to audiobooks is a fantastic way to enrich your mind, drive creativity, and really learn things that you had never thought about and that people have already put a lot of work into and failed at or succeeded at that you can learn from. I will happily put a couple links down below in this week's description on our episode, and a couple of suggestions of great books that you can pick up on Audible or anything like that and listen to those while you drive. But it's a great time. Just something like that is what you need to be using, those little times that you have that maybe everybody else doesn't on a consistent basis, that you can start adding to your life and your career and take use of the times that maybe you weren't thinking about using before. And the third part that I want to talk about that you can hyper-focus on as somebody that has a career and a steady income is that you can do savings. You can build up a load of cash that nobody else can in the music career, because like I said, there's an inconsistency to the stream of income as a musician or a full-time artist. But with somebody that has a job and can actually do that full-time like you can take a huge advantage of putting money aside into a little account just for those rainy days. And you can also use those savings and that money that you're getting to build your gear list, to get your gear up to a high level, because you have a steady income, and you can really put money towards the things that you think are going to improve your sound sonically, which is fantastic. And just if you need a little help with that, just to plug ourselves a little bit, the episode right before this, and we'll link a card right here, right around here somewhere, where you can actually see a great way to prioritize your sound. There's a little list there that'll help your sound list, and it's free. You can just go pick it up, download it, and use that to take that money that you get every week, every 2 weeks, every month, and invest in getting the best gear that's going to help you. Because I promise you, once you move to a full-time musician or artist or band or whatever you're doing, and you're not having that steady income, the first thing that drops off is gear is not important anymore. You do what you can with what you have until you have enough money to throw at something that has to be fixed, that has to be addressed. This is that time in your life when you don't have to do that, because you can just do the research and do the work to get it now, and it's taken care of, and you can move forward with other things and move out there and sound even a little more polished and better than everybody else because you had the gear and the time to put that away. So huge thing that you can focus on and prioritize. So that's the three things that really need to be in focus as you're moving to a full-time career in music, or even a more involved part from a part-time job. The last part that I really want to touch upon here is just the 5 steps to moving on comfortably if you want to go from having that full-time job or that part-time job to having a full-time career in music, which is a real possibility. People do it every day. People are out there making these things work. So it is a possibility. That's what you need to know. So as we were saying before with the advantages, a huge thing about this is that you already know what your income needs to be to move on to this, to make this system work. So the number one thing in the 5 steps to moving on is to set a goal date to be done or to wind down by. So it's the number one step, but you're going to have to include other parts of this step here. But the reason it's so important is that if you don't have that end goal in mind, then you're going to continue to, because it's comfortable, because it works for you. You don't want to take that risk. But if you start to set a date, and it should be well in the future, it should not be like, next month I'm moving on, but it should be like 6 months, a year, 2 years at the most. And it should say something, I want to be working full time, or I want to be able to quit my job by this date. And the fact that you have an income, a number that you need to hit, makes it more realistic that you know that you can make little steps moving up to that, to start to add, to see it work. And then you'll know when you can start to step away, we can start to build in those plans of, okay, I think I'm going to be able to walk away from my job now and do this full time. And that's great. So that's the first step. And the next step here, the step 2 of making this system work, if you're going to step out the door from your job, is you need to define your income streams. And I'm not talking about the streams from work and that paycheck you're getting. You need to come up with a good game plan of where the money's going to start coming in from when you switch to being a full-time musician or artist. And you need to start getting those streams trickling before you step out that door, before you tell your boss, I'm ready to move on. So, for example, a huge part of any artist's income or flow, no matter what you're doing, is merch sales. So you got to decide, how am I going to start getting this done? Am I going to start selling my music physically? Am I going to make t-shirts and sweaters and all those kind of things and sell those? That's a great source of income for any musician, any artist. But you want to start putting that in motion well before you ever step out the door. Other things to consider for income streams are like, are you going to be playing shows? Are you going to be busking on the street and just picking up money playing on the street? Are you going to play, live shows so you need a band and you need to get that ball rolling? Are you going to be playing just bars and breweries are a great way to make money and start your career that way. But that needs to be in place, and you need to understand how that's going to work. And before you get out, you need to be already playing shows. You need to already have a system. You need to know how to set up gigs and book shows. So that's what I'm talking about, income streams. But those need to be in place. You should have at least 3 solid streams in mind that are already starting to show some money coming in before you even consider moving on to a full-time career. The third part is building up your systems before you step out. So building up your systems is all about getting things in place so that when you decide to invest into those streams that you've already just discussed, that you have things in place to make them happen quickly and efficiently. So as we were talking about with like merch sales, you should already have a place that makes the stuff for you and is ready to go, a distributor. You should already have a backlog or a inventory of things that you're going to be selling. Those should be ready to go. Other systems in place be like, how are you going to put out your music? That's a great system to have in place. Are you going to be recording yourself and then just releasing it yourself through DistroKid or CD Baby or TuneCore, one of those distribution networks? How are you going to use somebody, do you have a friend that's going to do it for you? Do you can use a studio? Any of those are great options. You just need to know what systems in place so that you can continually be putting out content to grow your fan base. That's a huge thing you have to have in place. So you got to make sure that those systems are ready to go and in place before you step out that door again. Another one, sorry, just to throw this in at the back end of it, but social media is a huge part of it. Of course, you've got to have those up and rolling. You've got to have your logo and everything going that way. You need to have, whatever way you're going to use, you should have probably two platforms at most that you're heavily invested to and making work. Either TikTok is, of course, a great way to get discovered. Facebook, in the future, if you decide to do ads for listening and merch, Facebook's a great way to go. Instagram is super easy, and it seems to be a great way to stay in touch with the fan base. So that's a huge win there. So that's how to build your systems and what you're getting in place. The fourth part is that you're going to have to design a backup plan. And a backup plan is just about not something like oh crap, this isn't working, I need to go back to do what I was doing. But that can be it. But you need to keep it in mind as you're building the systems and you're getting ready to step out into the world full time as an artist and a musician. You don't want to burn bridges, number one. The least that you can do is, giving them the finger and saying, I'm moving on with my life. Screw you guys. You don't want to do that. You want to have some way, if things don't work out, or if you need to take just a small step backwards or 2 steps back and kind of build up more systems and get that going. You want to be able to be, hey, this didn't work out so great. Can I pick up a couple more hours here and there? And so you're not scrambling or hurting. Just having that backup plan is a great thing to have in place. But number 5, and the last one we're going to talk about today, is building up your backlog. And that's super important as well. This is, like I said, you have time now. And one of the big steps you can do is, as you're getting more comfortable with how your systems are going to work, start building up a backlog of content that you can release. Get those songs ready. Have 5-10 songs ready to release so that you're set up for the next 6 months or a year. Have some videos done, just you playing, whatever you're going to use for social media. Make some lyric videos. Have those ready to go when you release your music, just so you can start building up your fan base. But having a backlog makes it so that you aren't getting punched in the face and just getting buried by what you need to be doing because you stepped into this full time but weren't quite ready. Having a backlog is going to make that super, super simple. That's the 5 steps, and that's pretty much all we have to talk about today. Like everything else is, if this helps you, please share it with whoever you can so they can do the same thing. Give us a like. That lets us know that we're doing the right thing. Anything you can do, just give us a 1 click is great. If you need any help with, like I said, your sound list and what's a best way to invest, we have that free list below that you just click on that, go and download it. It's completely free. If you're going to start doing recordings or step into the studio anytime, there's also a free prep list down below too. So go ahead and take that. That's completely free. Just some resources to help you guys out. So thank you guys so much for your time. It was great to talk to you guys this week. I can't wait to talk to you guys again next week, and we will do it then. Thank you guys so much. Bye.